What is up, everyone? Welcome to Eric's house. Today we're talking Mickey 17, the brand new Bong Joon-ho science fiction film starring Robert Pattinson about a guy named Mickey who is literally unexpendable. The movie takes place in the future, and you have this expendable who is basically there to do experiments with, to put his life intentionally at risk, because it's no big deal if he dies, because they just make another copy of him. So you had Mickey 1, Mickey 2, Mickey 3, Mickey 4, Mickey 5, and so on. So they try different things with this guy for the sake of humanity or whatever, and if he dies, no problem, they can make a new copy. Every copy, though, might have a slightly different personality, or maybe a very different personality, and eventually it gets to Mickey 17. This is just the setup of the movie. No spoilers in today's review. And Mickey 17 gets in a critical situation. Looks like he's clearly dead, so they report him as dead, but it turns out he survives the ordeal, and when he gets back to his base, he runs into Mickey 18, who they already copied, and now there's a duplicate, and duplicates are bad against the law. And there you have it. Interesting plot, interesting premise. What I didn't know but should have known going in was this is a dark comedy. And though the way they use the comedy in this movie is a little more tolerable than some of the previous movies. Now, I like comedies, don't get me wrong. If a movie is genuinely funny and I laugh, and great. That's why there's a comedy. It's a genre, right? Nowadays, it seems like every movie's a comedy. There's not just a horror movie that's genuinely scary. It also has to be funny during the entire runtime, right? Can't just be an awesome science fiction movie taking place in the future, with a couple laughs here and there. No. Gotta be a comedy. And the comedy in this one is kind of just circumstantial comedy. Just kind of the fact that it's just so absurd and everyone's kind of over the top. People are hamming it up here. It's just, this is what it is. And this is why it's supposed to be funny, because it's just so outrageous. And the way that people treat Mickey, it's absolutely horrible, actually, and pretty unrealistic. But they treat him just like absolute crap. I mean, yeah, he's an expendable, but they really push that in your face, and like, we get it, but they really push it on how everyone just doesn't care about Mickey, and it's just like whatever, and he's there for experiments, and they do it so casually, like there's absolutely zero care in the world about his pain and suffering, which I don't think is very realistic, but it's done for laughs. I didn't find it funny. I didn't find the tone very funny. I get what they were going for. Didn't really work for me on a comedic level. As far as the overall story, I do like the premise here. I like the idea. I think it's cool. It just didn't really work for me, not just because of the comedy, but let's go ahead and just jump into some positives before I destroy this movie, which again, it's not my worst movie of 2025 so far. I didn't absolutely hate it, but I certainly didn't love it. But credit where credit is due. Visually, it was amazing. Now, it is a movie with a huge budget. I expect nothing less these days, although there are occasions where you will see a movie with a huge budget and the special effects and the CGI and all that can be kind of disappointing. Usually it's still impressive, but it can be disappointing, like The Red One, if you remember that, the Shazam sequel, if you remember that one. Those are a couple movies with big budgets where the special effects were, sure, they looked pretty impressive, but based on the budget, you'd expect something even better. Here, I thought the visuals were stunning. They were absolutely amazing. There are moments where there is these creatures called, what are they called? The creepers. And the creepers, they look like giant tardigrades, giant water bears, right? They're just these massive creatures that crawl along. They're kind of scary. They play a pretty important part in the movie, but they look really impressive. And just overall, the visuals are awesome. Sound effects are awesome. The music is kind of oftentimes comedic. It is good for what they're trying to do. And like I said, not really what I was looking for, not really what I wanted here in this movie, but the music does match what they're going for, and it's very well done. Robert Pattinson as an actor, not surprisingly, he is amazing, and he plays dual roles here. Obviously, Mickey 17, Mickey 18, who do have different personalities. Why is that? I didn't really hear it explained, but my interpretation of why that might be is simply because the human body, our human brain, and all the signals and everything that's going on, maybe it's just the slightest change, the slightest difference the slightest modification can have maybe huge differences, can cause huge differences in a personality. That's just what I'm taking it. So when they make a new copy, yes, it's supposed to be a carbon copy, but there's always just going to be a slight difference in the processing, just a little, some nerve here or there, boom, boom, firing off in the brain, and you get a completely different personality, even though it's the same guy, it's supposed to be. That's all I took. That's what I assumed. Now, maybe there's an explanation I missed, but clearly Mickey 18 is the much more aggressive individual, and, you know, he is not scared to speak his mind. He is tougher, rougher, and you got Mickey 17, who's much more shy, much more introverted, and not as much courage, just a totally different guy, really. I almost feel like that was so Robert Pattinson can kind of show off his acting skills. We're seeing this in a lot of movies, right? More and more, going back to Split, where James McAvoy gets to play like 10 different roles and does an absolutely amazing job. And then we just saw The Monkey. That was like the last movie that was in theaters that I saw. And that did the same thing. We had dual roles for the kid and then for the adult. And here we have another one. And yeah, Robert Pattinson does a really good job. He's a great actor. He does fantastic. And the effects are good, and it's convincing that there's two of them there. The rest of the cast is all right as well. Mark Ruffalo is the villain in this movie, and way, way over the top, along with his wife, Toni Collette, who she was in the Mafia Mama movie that I walked out of and was my worst movie of the year in, I believe it was 2023. That movie was so bad. And again, she's going completely over the top here at a comedic level. These villains are absolutely cartoonish in every way and completely unrealistic. But the entire movie, I mean, I could get behind the premise for a futuristic science fiction movie all day long. I love this premise. Absolutely love it. But the movie was presented in a way that you can't really suspend your disbelief, because it's just outrageous and it's for laughs for the most part. And I didn't get any laughs, so that brings us to the negatives. And I've already kind of just touched on a little bit of over-the-top behavior, especially from the two villains, but from other characters as well. Everything is hammy. Everything is just, and it's for laughs, right? That's the direction they went with. That's the direction every movie's gone with. Every movie I've seen so far, every new release in 2025 I've seen so far, with one exception, which was one called The Damned, has been more comedy, I would say, than any other genre, except none of it's funny. Now, the movie also feels extremely freaking long. Extremely long. It goes on and on and on for such a simple premise, because they present a bunch of new ideas and things that I think, oh, okay, this is going to be big, and it never goes anywhere, never gets brought up again. And I believe a big word you'll hear in reviews for this movie is unfocused. Just all over the place. I don't know what they're really going for. I mean, there's a story here, and I'll come back to the story sometimes, but it also goes in all these other different directions, but never really continues in that direction. And so it just starts to feel long and just goes and goes and goes, and I'm waiting to get back on the main track of the movie, which eventually it will do. But yeah, it's just, it feels bloated. It feels like it should be an hour 40 hour, a solid hour 40 movie, and it's over 2 hours, feels like 3 hours. Some of the lines, some of the dialogue, some of the script in this movie doesn't really work for me. He has a girlfriend in this film, and she gets over the top. The way that, I don't even know, like, she'll cuss out the villains, but it's just so like I don't know, it feels like a 12-year-old wrote it. Fuck you! You fucking fuck! Didn't really love her character. Didn't love a lot of the side characters in this movie, to be quite honest with you. Just never really got into it. I never really felt this was real at all. Couldn't suspend disbelief whatsoever. And it's just so quirky. It's just so, it's just so trying to be funny, but I didn't find it funny. I got a guy who was like in a chicken costume half the time for some reason. It's just overly quirky, weird, over the top. And the script oftentimes treats us like total morons. Right from the get-go, I was worried about this script. Like one of the very first lines of the movie, when Mickey 17 falls and he's hurt, he's down in a ditch, he's clearly going to die, and his buddy, who is not really caring too much because he knows they're just going to print another one, he's like, well, sir, I'm going to leave you here, I'm going to take your weapon back to the base. Which one are you anyway? 16? Which one? Mickey 15, 16? I don't know. And this is kind of giving us information about what's going on. Okay, we get it. Mickey 17, like, you pick up on that right away. It's not that hard to figure out. He's like, I'm Mickey 17. And then he's like to himself, next I'll be Mickey 18. Like, yeah, we can count. This happens quite a bit with, the expository stuff. like really pushing it on you, like you need a extra help, like to really get us to understand. It's like, no, we kind of get it. The concept is not that difficult, but a lot of the concepts in this movie are kind of pushed on us in expository dialogue and things like that a little bit too much, like it's not needed. Like, we get it. So I didn't find the script that great in that respect, and I didn't find it that funny. Is it intriguing? Is it, as we get towards the end, do I care about the plot and the characters a little bit? A little bit. I mean, enough that I was, trying to keep watching it. It was getting long, like I said. I mean, it's not, like I said, not the worst piece of shit ever, because it looked really good. The special effects are really good. Robert Pattinson's really good. And there is a story in there. It's just not streamlined. It's just kind of all over the place. And it's just, the movie has a chaotic tone, and it's just crazy. And I just had trouble with it. Now, maybe on rewatch, it's a movie that could be better on rewatch. I will say that. It could definitely be better watching at home, where you can watch half of it today, half of it tomorrow, and I don't have to sit through this whole thing. So, I mean, it's got some redeeming qualities. There's a good story in there that I like. Got some really good acting, got some really good scenes, it's got some really good visuals. Other than that, though, that's not a movie that's really for me. As far as the tone, as far as the constant comedy, the attempted dark humor, some of the expository dialogue stuff, and the chaotic tones and unexplored themes that don't go anywhere. And I know there are some messaging in this movie. I didn't even get all the messaging, but I can just tell there's some political messaging and things like that in this movie. What side of the fence they're on politically, I mean, it's a Hollywood movie, but I'm not gonna really attack that, because I didn't even totally get what they were trying to say, but I can just tell there was some messaging in there, I'm pretty sure. But that aside, I just didn't enjoy the movie that much, unfortunately. And I would have to say, for this one, honestly, man, this is like, see it if you're bored. That's all I can say, because it will kill you some time. It'll kill you a couple hours plus, 2 hours 20 minutes or so. And so maybe almost 3 hours with the previews, if you get there in time for previews. It's a long watch, but yeah, see it if you're bored is the best I can do for this one. God forbid this movie is a top 10 of 2025. We're in for a long year with movies. You guys have a great day. Hit that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed the video. I'm reviewing every movie I watch. I haven't been putting a lot of reviews because I'm watching the Harry Potter series right now, and I was just gonna do a full ranking when I'm done instead of individual reviews on that one. But let me know your guys' thoughts on Mickey 17. If you've seen it, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. We will talk to you in the next one.